jump in. So today we're going to focus on solving equations, both in their standard format and with word problems. We will get through a few word problems today, and we'll finish up with some more word problems on Thursday. So let's not waste any time. Jump right on in with example number 1. And I'm going to blow this up a little bit, give myself some space. Example 1. If 5y minus 3 equals 3/4, what is the value of 2y plus 7? Now, please keep in mind, the question didn't ask you what is y equal to. It asked you what is 2y plus 7 equal to. So in order to solve this out, we need to know what y is equal to. 5y minus 3 equals 3/4. So we follow the standard order for solving an equation. Add 3 to both sides. You get 5y equals 3/4 plus 3. Of course, we can't add two fractions that don't have the same denominator. So we need to make them the same denominator. 1 times 4 gives you 4. That's why we're multiplying times 4. So 5y equals 3/4 plus 12 over 4. So 5y equals 15 over 4. Still got to get y by itself. Divide by 5. So y equals 15 over 4 divided by 5. So when you divide fractions, that's keep, change, and flip. So that gives you 15 over 20, which is 3/4. Any questions so far? Then let's finish the problem. Because that's not the final answer. It didn't ask you what y was equal to. It asked you what 2y plus 7 is equal to. 2y plus 7, 2 times 3/4 plus 7. 2 times 3 is 6, divided by 4. 6 over 4, which reduces to 3 over 2. Those aren't the same denominator, and you can't add if they're not the same denominator. Three over 2 plus 14 over 2, 17 over 2. So, as you can see, we didn't ease into it. We solved the two-step equation. We reviewed in one problem how to add or subtract fractions that don't have the same denominator, divided fractions, multiplied fractions, and evaluated expressions. So we did a whole lot of content in one problem, none of which should be all that difficult. Do know that the answer was left as a fraction. If the problem tells you to leave it as a fraction and you give it as a decimal, it's wrong. So just know that in advance. If you don't like fractions, get over it. It's a fraction. Fractions are numbers too. Any questions on example 1? Now, there will be an example in which I will show you how we can get rid of fractions that are sitting in a problem. I believe that's example 5. Alright, problem 2. Getting to something that we're a little bit more familiar slash something else we like. So now we have a multi-step equation. Variables are on one side, but it's a multi-step equation. So notice that we have parentheses in the problem. We're going to have to distribute those. It's either 55 equals 6x minus 3 plus 2x plus 10. Then combine your like terms. 55 equals 8x plus 7. So, the next step would be to subtract 7. Now, you're an honors. Therefore, I don't need to see that you subtracted 7 on both sides. You don't have to put minus 7 and minus 7. If you choose to, that's fine. I'm not going to stop you from showing the work. I'd rather you show more work than not enough. But you don't have to put minus 7. You can go directly to 48 equals 8x. Just like I'm not going to penalize you if you don't put divided by 8 on both sides. And x equals 6. Again, showing your work does more to cover your own butt. However, at least in those two cases, you don't have to show that. Any questions? Example 2. If you have questions, make sure you ask. Be a little aggressive with it. Alright, example 3. So now we go one step further, put variables on both sides. So again, you have parentheses, so distribute it first. And then the right-hand side, you have like terms. 4x plus 12 equals 6x minus 5. So some of you might have went from the start of the problem directly to 4x plus 12 equals 6x minus 5. That's fine. So you have variables on both sides. We only want variables on one side. You don't want the same variable on both sides of the equation. So I'm going to choose to subtract 4x on both sides. Why I chose 4x is because 4 is smaller than 6. I always tend to move the smaller variable. If you chose to move the 6x to the left, that's fine. It's your choice. You should get the same answer as long as you did the correct mathematical manipulation. 4x is dropped. Go. Go. So as I mentioned earlier, if it asks you to give it as a fraction, you're required to give it as a fraction. If it doesn't, you have a choice. Just know that if you make it a decimal and it's wrong, you'll lose credit for it. So we subtract 4x. We have 12 equals 2x minus 5. Add 5 to both sides. 17 equals 2x. So you have 17 over 2 equals x. Again, for most of you, you should have a graphing calculator. Let the graphing calculator change it back to a decimal, change it back to a fraction for you. There is a function on a graphing calculator that will take care of that for you very easily. All right, questions 1, 2, and 3. Questions on problems 1, 2, or 3. Nothing in the chat. See none, hear none. Let's go on to example 4. So example 4 goes into some of those special cases as it relates to an equation. So we got 3 parentheses 3x plus 3 equals 2 parentheses x plus 1 plus x plus 1. So, first things first, we've got the parentheses. Distribute. So you have 3x plus 9 equals 2x plus 2 plus x plus 1. Clean up the right-hand side. 3x plus 9 equals 3x plus 3. So now we got the situation. You've got variables on both sides. You can't have variables on both sides. Well, the same variable at least. So I'm going to subtract 3x. Problem with that is, those are going to drop, and those will too. So that gives you 9 equals 3. Huh. Yeah, okay. 9 can't equal 3, not in this or any other lifetime. So this is no solution. So this is one of the 2 special answers that you could get. The other special scenario of an answer is if both sides were a dead exact match. Number for number, sign for sign. In this case, you subtract 3x, you would have 9 equals 9, which is always true. So that would be infinitely many solutions. You want to abbreviate that IMS, that's fine. You probably heard of it as all real numbers. You want to abbreviate that as ARN, that's fine too. You want to use the infinity symbol, be my guest. Just know that there are 2 special cases. It doesn't have to announce itself. If it's there, you work with it. Any questions with example 4? Alright, so example 5. Let me just give you a minute and let you, we can start with distributing. So we have 3x minus 2x plus 6 over 3 equals 16 minus x plus 2 over 2. Alright, so if you got here and got stuck, that's fine. Here's how we get out of the situation. What I will tell you is that if we do this problem correctly, the answer is x equals 6. That's the answer if we do this correctly. So, if you're anything like me, I don't like fractions. I don't like solving equations with fractions. So, I'm going to get rid of them. Of course, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to change everything into a fraction, and now I'm going to get rid of them. Here's how you get rid of the fraction. Multiply the whole equation. Now, I'm rewriting it simply because these are notes that other people see. You don't have to rewrite this. We're going to multiply the whole equation by something that's going to cancel out the denominators. So we need a multiple that 1, 2, and 3 share, like the number 6. Well, here's why I chose the number 6. Because all of these numbers will divide into 6. 1 divides into 6 times. 3 divides into 6 twice. 2 divides into 6 3 times. So I now know that I'm going to get rid of these fractions. I'll multiply everything by 6, the fractions will go away. If you don't believe me, here we go. 6 times 3x is 18x. 18x divided by 1, 18x. Six times 2x plus 6, so I'm going to leave it right now as 6 times that. I'm not going to distribute yet. So minus 6 times 2x plus 6 over 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So 18 minus 2 times 2x plus 6. Again, I didn't distribute yet. So if you're wondering why don't you see 12x plus 36, it's because I didn't distribute. I'm going to do that later. Equals 6 times 16 is 96. 96 divided by 1, 96. Minus. We'll take x plus 2 and put it in parentheses. 6 times x plus 2 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Again, I didn't distribute yet. How did I get 96? 6 times 16 is 96. Then 96 divided by 1, 96. So, I multiply the whole equation by 6, all my fractions are gone. All my fractions are gone. Now, I'll gladly solve that. I'll gladly work that problem out. I'll have to deal with fractions. Any questions before we continue?
So, what would the bottom having what was 9 out of 6?
Say that again.
Like, have you equation here and we're different now.
The bottom is gone. If someone's talking, if you're talking, I can't understand a word you're saying. I didn't understand the second part of your question, if you asked one. What I did here is that you're talking about what happened to the bottom of the fraction. After I multiplied the top of the fraction, I divided by whatever was at the bottom. So in the case of the first fraction, 6 times 3x is 18x. But you still have to divide by 1, which is 18x. 6 times 2x plus 6 is 6 parentheses 2x plus 6. I can distribute. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so that's where the 2 came from. 6 times 16 is 96. 96 divided by 1 is 96. And then 6 times x plus 2 is 6 parentheses x plus 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So as I went along, I took care of the bottom of the fraction. So, fractions are gone. Now we can just solve the problem. Now we can distribute. Combine your like terms. 18x minus 4x, 14x. 90 minus 6 is 90. You got variables on both sides. Add 3x to the other side. You get 17x minus 12 equals 90. Add 12. 17x equals 102. Divide by 17. Equals 6. So it ends up working itself out. Now again, you don't want to get rid of fractions? That's fine. Work with the fractions. One person in first period suggested change everything to a decimal. That's fine. That's your right. However, 2 divided by 3 is 0.6 repeated. If you round that off, chances are you're going to get the wrong answer somewhere in here. Remember, not every fraction works out nicely as a decimal, so be careful with that. Any questions, 4 or 5? Again, clearing your fractions out is an option. You don't want to do it, don't do it. Alright, I'm going to do 6 and 7. Take a quick 90-second break and then start the word problems. Example 6. So now we have multiple variables in the equation. And we're going to solve for y. 2x minus 3y equals 9. So this is a little bit of a taste of what's coming in the next unit with slope-intercept form. You need y by itself, so the 2x has to go. So positive 2x, subtract 2x on both sides. So you get negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. You're not finished because y is not by itself. To get rid of that negative 3, you divide it. Notice that I divided everything by negative 3. So y equals positive 2/3 x minus 3. And that's it. That's the end of the problem. Questions, example 6. Alright, seeing none, hearing none. Let's do example 7 before we take a quick 90-second break. The formula for the area of a trapezoid is that. For h is the height, b1 and b2 represents the bases. Solve the formula for b2. So we have the area formula. We need b2 by itself. So b2 is the variable, everything else is a number. For all intents and purposes, it's a number. So everything else, for all intents and purposes, is a number. So, if you solve this equation, I've got parentheses, so what could I do first? It's true. You see parentheses, they can't stay there. So now, this is what you have. Again, b2 is the variable. So, if you're stuck with what to do with all of this sitting here, think of it this way. This equation is, so number 6 will be pretty much in the video once I upload it, so you'll be able to see that part again. We'll see it worked out again. So solving this equation is similar to solving this is like solving that. Solving this equation is like solving that equation. So if you were solving this equation, you would subtract 3 on both sides and divide by 4. You're not doing anything different over here. 1/2 h times b1, that's a number. All of that is a number. The only variable is that one. So just like we subtracted 3 over there, subtract all of that to the left-hand side. Any questions before you finish the problem? Problem. 1/2 and h is similar to this 4. We divided 4 in this made-up problem that we had. So we're going to divide 1/2 and h, everything on the left-hand side. Right hand side is easy. 1/2 are gone, the h's are gone, you're left with b2, which is what you want. Left hand side. 1 divided by 1/2, 2. The a doesn't go anywhere, and the h doesn't go anywhere. They can't go anywhere. Minus 1/2 divided by 1/2, they cancel out. H divided by h, they cancel out. B1 is all that's left over. And that's your final answer.
Wait, where did you get 2A from?
You took 1 divided by 1/2. The a didn't move, the h didn't move. You just did 1 divided by 1/2. 1 divided by 1/2 gives you 2. Any other questions before you take 90 seconds? Again, I'm highly confident everyone in here knows how to solve an equation. However, at the honors level, you will get much more complex and much more involved equations to solve. But they're not using anything different than what you've already learned. So just keep your wits about you. Nonetheless, let me start looking at some word problems. Now, for our purposes, we're going to look at how to set them up. We're going to go through how to set them up. Solving them, you can do that part. We can do that part, but we're going to look at how to solve it, how to set them up. So that's understanding what some of these terms mean. So, problem 1. Find 2 consecutive integers such that their sum is 89. So, consecutive integers are numbers back to back. Numbers that are back to back. So, 9 and 10 would be consecutive integers. They're numbers that are back to back. So, they said find 2 consecutive integers. Now, for some of you who like to try to guess at it, you can guess the 2 numbers, and then you'll get 1 point for just giving that answer, because you're going to have to set up the equation. So here's how you set up the equation. You need 2 numbers. First number, second number. First number, I don't know what it is. X. Don't know something, give it a variable. The second number, x plus 1. Why is it x plus 1? If they're back to back, it's the next number after. Consecutive means the next number. To go from 9 to 10, you added 1. So the next number after x would be x plus 1. So those are your consecutive integers. So when we set up the equation, find 2 consecutive integers such that their sum is 89. That would be x, which is the first number, plus x plus 1, which is the second number, equals 89. So there's your equation. Any questions on how the equation was set up? Again, we're not going to solve it. but it is set up. That's how you would set it up. Any questions on the setup?
Why did you do x plus 1 for second equation?
So consecutive means you need the next number that came after it. To go from 9 to 10, you have to add 1. I don't know what the first number is, but if I'm going to get to the next number after it, I have to add 1. So that's why the second number is x plus 1. Any other questions? Example 1. Now when I upload the notes to Google Classroom, I'll have the solved out equation up there. But we're not going to solve it out for the emphasis of wanting to get through as many as we can. That's a relatively easy equation for you to solve. Example 2. Find 3 consecutive odd integers such that they have an average of 18. So, consecutive odd integers and average of 13. So, there's a few things happening here. So, consecutive is very, very similar to what we just did in example 1. Odd integers is where this changes up a little bit. So now the numbers have to be consecutive, but they also have to be odd. So here's an example of what that means. 3, 5, and 7 are consecutive odd integers. They're odd numbers, they're integers, and they come one right after the other. If you started with 3, the next odd number is 5. The next odd number after that is 7. That's what consecutive means. They come one right after the other. So consecutive odd integers, I need 3 of them. So to go from 3 to 5, what do I have to do? I want to go from 3 to 5. Add 2. If I want to go from 5 to 7, what do I got to do? Add 2. So the first number is x. So if I want to get to the second number, I have to add 2. Why am I adding 2? Because I want it to be an odd integer. If I add 1, the next number after an odd number is an even number. I don't want an even number. I want odd. So I've got to add 2. If I want to get to the third number, I'm going to add 2 again. But if I only add 1, I'm going to get an even number. I want an odd number. X plus 2 plus 2 is x plus 4. So here's my 3 numbers. I don't know what they are yet, but those are my 3 numbers. Any questions before we continue? So let's continue. There's your 3 numbers. You need an average of 13. What does it mean to find an average of something?
To add them and divide about how much they.
There you go. So these 3 numbers have to average out to 18. That means if I add them up, and divide by, add 1, 2, 3 numbers. 3, it has to equal 13. So there's my equation. That's your equation. Now from there you would combine by terms, multiply the 3 to the other side, finish simplifying, and you get your answer. So again, we're not going to solve it. I'll put that in Google Classroom for those of you who wish to see it. Any questions on the setup to example 2? Alright, example 3. Example 3. A truck was able to average 40 miles per hour for the first 4 hours of a delivery route. How long must the driver travel at a speed of 55 miles per hour to average 50 miles per hour for the trip? So, we have to figure out, he wants to ultimately average 50 miles per hour. So there's a couple things we need to know about this problem. First thing is the idea of distance. So distance is equal to your rate times your time. Distance equals rate times time. So a truck was able to average 40 miles per hour for the first 4 hours. So for the first 4 hours, his rate was 40 times his time, 4 hours. There's his rate, there's his time for the first part of his journey. He still kept driving. How long must the driver travel at a speed of 55 miles per hour? So they're saying how long, which means you don't know the time. See? Why did you divide by? You divided by 3 in problem 2 because you had 3 separate numbers. If you take an average of something, you divide by the number of numbers you had. So, in example 3, this represents the first 4 hours. You have a speed of 55 miles per hour for the remainder of the trip. Well, I don't know how long I was going. So plus 55 miles per hour times the time, you don't know. So I don't know how long you was driving 55 miles an hour. Equals, he wants to average 55 miles per hour for the whole trip. So that's 50 miles per hour times his total time. He spent 4 hours plus however long he was driving 55 miles per hour, 4 plus 2. So that's your average speed, and it's total time. So here's the thinking behind the problem. 40 and 4, That's the first 4 hours of the trip. 55 and T was the remainder of the trip. So the ending part of it is the total. Any questions on the setup? And I'm taking you through the setup so that you can see the thought process. Ultimately, the thought process you're going to have to go through yourself. Which might mean you might struggle through it for a little bit, and that's fine. Struggle is a part of the learning. Let's see. Any questions? The last one we're going to do is problem 4. And then we'll do 4 more examples on Thursday. Problem 4. A chemist wants to mix a 70% saline salt solution with 8 liters of a 25% saline solution to create a solution that is 40% salt. How many liters of 70% salt solution does she need? So, yes, Mr. Little can't spell. That's why I teach math, not English. But, so, you have a solution. You have a solution that has 70% salt. How much of it do you have? You don't know. You have another solution. 8 liters of 25% salt. If you add those two together, you want a solution that is 40% salt. So if you put those two together, you want a solution that's 40% salt. So, do remember, percentages, you have to change to decimals. So now let's set it up. So you have a 70% solution, 70% of something that we don't know. So that's 0.70x. Plus 25% of 8 liters. So that's nice. 0.25 times 8. To create a solution that is 40% salt. 40% of the total. So 40% we know, 0.40. The total we don't know all the way. We know that we have X amount of 70% and 8 liters of something else. So the total amount would be X plus 8. And that's the equation that you would end up solving. So notice, first thing I did was draw it out and interpret the problem. So a lot of what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to interpret the problem, which may mean you may have to read it a couple times in order to solve it before you can start solving it out. But this is the setup of the equation I'll put the solution of it on Google Classroom. Any questions on problem 4 before we start to wrap this on up?